wonder murmur where whispers weave the heart.
Hello, little hearts. A new whisper begins. In the ancient kingdom of Mathura, ruled a king so great and a queen so kind that their land was a paradise. But this golden age was soon to end, for the king's nephew, a young prince named Kamsa, was waiting in the wings. Kamsa had a heart as hard as stone, and he was consumed by a hunger for power. The entire kingdom lived in fear of his cruel temper, all except for his cousin, Devaki, whose gentle spirit he loved dearly. When Devaki was to be married to a noble prince named Vasudeva, Kamsa's heart softened. The wedding was a magnificent affair, with 1,000 songs and 1,000,000 flowers. Afterward, Kamsa himself offered to drive the chariot to escort his sister to her new home, a grand gesture of his affection. As the chariot moved through the city gates, a sudden gust of wind silenced all the music. A thunderous voice, not from the earth but from the heavens, boomed through the sky. "Why are you so happy, Kamsa?" the voice rumbled. "Beware! The very sister you love so much is going to give birth to a son who will destroy you. The 8th son will be your end." Kamsa's face, which had been filled with a rare joy, twisted in an instant. All the love he had for Devaki vanished, replaced by a cold, desperate fear. He grabbed his sword, his eyes wild, and turned to kill his sister right then and there. "Kamsa, what are you doing?" Vasudeva cried, throwing his arms around his wife. "It is not justice to kill your own sister on her wedding day. This is not the noble act of a warrior, but the fearful act of a coward." Vasudeva, seeing the wild madness in Kamsa's eyes, pleaded with him, "Please spare Devaki's life. If you do, I promise you that I shall hand over every child born to us. You can have them as soon as they are born. Just trust me." Kamsa stared at his sister, his breath coming in short, ragged gasps. The voice of the prophecy still echoed in his mind. He lowered his sword. "I'll spare her," he said, his voice a low growl. "But I will make sure you keep your promise." He then turned the chariot around and ordered the procession to return to the palace. That very day, Kamsa had his sister and Vasudeva imprisoned in the deepest, darkest dungeon. His fear had now become his master, a cruel and merciless king in his mind. A year later, the dungeon guard came to Kamsa's chamber. "Your Majesty," he said, trembling, "Devaki has given birth to a child." Kamsa ran to the dungeon, his heart a frantic drumbeat against his ribs. He snatched the newborn from Devaki's arms, his grip cold and unforgiving. The baby cried, its small body squirming in his grasp. Devaki and Vasudeva pleaded, their voices choked with sobs, but Kamsa was deaf to their cries. He looked at the baby, a cold, empty look in his eyes, and with a terrible thud, he killed the child. Over the next few years, this horrifying ritual was repeated. Kamsa murdered their first 6 children, one after another, his soul growing darker with each innocent life he took. Vasudeva and Devaki's grief was a silent, agonizing storm. Their love for each other was their only shield against the despair. Then, Devaki was pregnant with her 7th child. They had lost all hope. But fate had a different plan. The 7th child was miraculously carried to Rohini, another wife of Vasudeva, who lived in a faraway village. The guards reported the child was stillborn, and Kamsa was satisfied. The child, Balram, was safe. Months later, on a moonless night, the 8th child was born. The sky was an angry black, and a terrible storm raged as if the heavens themselves were weeping. At the stroke of midnight, a baby boy was born to Devaki and Vasudeva. The dungeon filled with a soft, divine light. Suddenly, a voice echoed in their minds, not with the coldness of prophecy, but with the warmth of love. Lord Vishnu appeared before them, a radiant figure in the dim light. "Your wish has been fulfilled. I have taken birth as your child. Vasudeva, you must take me away from here to the village of Gokula and switch me with the baby girl born to Nanda and Yashoda." Vasudeva, filled with a renewed sense of purpose, looked at the chains on his wrists. They fell to the floor with a clatter. The prison doors swung open, and all the guards were fast asleep. A quiet miracle had happened. a path made for them by the heavens. Carefully, Vasudeva placed the newborn in a basket and balanced it on his head. He crept out into the storm. The wind howled and the rain poured, but as he reached the river, another miracle occurred. The great river, which had been raging, parted before him, a dry path leading to the other side. A great hooded serpent appeared and spread its hood over the baby, shielding him from the rain. Vasudeva reached Gokula, where Nanda and Yashoda had just had a baby girl. Vasudeva, with tears in his eyes, gently placed his son, Krishna, in the cradle and took the baby girl back. As he returned to the dungeon, the chains, the guards, and the doors all returned to their places. He was back in his cell, but this time he was not alone. The cries of a baby filled the air. The guards woke up and immediately reported the birth of the 8th child to Kamsa. Kamsa, overjoyed with a cruel kind of glee, ran to the dungeon. "Give me the baby!" he commanded. Devaki and Vasudeva pleaded with him. "It's a girl! How can a baby girl do any harm to a mighty warrior like you?" But Kamsa was deaf to their words. He snatched the girl from her mother's arms, his grip rough and impatient. He raised the baby to kill her, but she slipped from his grasp and rose into the air, a glowing figure of divine power. She transformed into goddess Durga, a warrior of truth and justice. "Oh, wicked Kamsa!" the goddess boomed, her voice a thunderclap. "You have displayed your valor by trying to kill a helpless baby. Your destroyer was born to Devaki at midnight, and he is now safe in Gokula. When the time comes, he will come in search of you and punish you for all the evil you have committed." The goddess vanished in a flash of light, leaving Kamsa alone in the dungeon. He was terrified, his heart now a prison of fear. He had killed 8 children, but he had failed to kill his destiny. From that moment on, Kamsa lived a life filled with terror, his power hollow, and his soul empty. Devaki and Vasudeva, now filled with hope, rejoiced. Their faith had been rewarded, and they knew their son was out there, living a magical life and waiting for the day he would return.
Wonder murmur, the story departs, yet the whisper imparts.